G'day guys, my name's Chris. Welcome back to the carport. Welcome back to the iRide Taz channel, where we are currently doing a Restomod on a 1969 CD90Z. And I'm pretty excited because there is a bike in a box. I purchased on eBay a 140cc Lifan complete bike kit. So in theory, there's 95–98% of what I need right there to complete this build on the channel. It arrived this morning. I only purchased it on Monday and it's Thursday morning, and it arrived to rural Tasmania. I wasn't actually expecting it until late next week, but here it is. I literally haven't opened anything, so this is going to be a true unveiling, and we'll go through together what I've bought and how it's going to fit on the bike, guys. I'm really excited about this one because this really marks a very significant moment in the build of this CD90Z. And yeah, I couldn't be more excited. So let's change the camera angle, get down, get some of these boxes open. So guys, I got this from Deo Parts, an eBay seller who basically just resells Lifan products. It has got that it's come from New South Wales on it, so it seems like it's a genuine Australian stockist. They don't have a huge amount of feedback. It's 268, but it was pretty close to 100%. So I was willing to take the risk on this seller, and if speed of delivery was anything to go by, this was well worth it. So we've got the bike in a box, the full Lifan 140cc kit. We've got a battery and we've got a exhaust system. But we'll start with the box first. By no surprise, I have blacked out my phone numbers and addresses and things like that. So no offense. So this is legitimately the first time I've opened this box. Okay, so straight off the bat, on the top layer, we've got our technical specifications, an electrical diagram, which is handy. And it is actually in English, which is even more exciting because it will actually be quite useful. The specs, a handy little sheet. We won't throw that away. Okay, so in the top layer, we've got our coil, spark plug lead, the harness to make it run. So I believe these go to a kill switch, and we've got our CDI unit. We've got our carby intake tube, and the casting's actually pretty clean. It wouldn't even need to be ported or polished. I'm reasonably impressed with that, and it's nice and short, which will be handy for positioning it on the bike forward or backward so it doesn't foul up with anything. So we've got the gear lever, we've got the Lifan kickstart, which is actually surprisingly good quality. The splines are nice and clean. I really hope the rest of it is the quality that I've seen already. Here we've got a carby spacer. Yeah, so we've got a carby spacer, a gasket, and it's got an O-ring on it, which is nice. Fixtures, they're not bad quality. So the top layer, I'm already reasonably impressed with what's in the box and the quality that I'm seeing. Okay. next layer down. This is our carby. It looks okay. I mean, it's definitely a Chinese copy of a Mikuni, and it says Makut on it, but it's not bad. Like, I've seen worse, that's for sure. Got our air cleaner. She's a bit smushed up. It's not the best quality I've ever seen, but we can certainly work with it. So about the only thing so far that is a little bit disappointing is the air cleaner. There's our Lifan 140cc engine. There's our harness that connects to the other harness that we have. It's meant to have wiring for lights, so hopefully that's somewhere else in the box or in the other package, but realistically there's our motor there, and it's surprisingly good. It's travelled well. I'm quite impressed with the initial quality of it. It looks quite nice. It's a very solid, robust looking engine. There's our spark plug, and it's actually an NGK plug, which impresses me. I was expecting to be a cheap copy, but it looks like a legitimate NGK plug. So I believe it is 8 kilowatt. Yeah, so max power for this engine is 9 kilowatts, and it's rated at 8.5 kilowatts, and its max torque is 11 newton meters. So sort of ultimately 9 kilowatt. The max power of the original 90cc engine was actually about 8 horsepower. So ultimately this is going to be a pretty serious increase in power, about a 50% increase in power. I'm looking inside. Yeah, so it's got oil in it, but I would imagine it's transport oil. And we will take that out and put some good quality Pennzoil or Penrite oil, something like that, in it to replace the transport oil. Cheap insurance. I generally use Penrite oil in all my bikes, and I plan on actually using a semi-synthetic in this or a synthetic in this to keep it in good condition. I'm actually quite impressed with that, and I'm looking forward to getting it onto the bike. I have heard that you have to drill out this top mount from 8 to 10 mil, but there's plenty of meat on that to do that, and you have to bend this out of the way to get it to fit onto some bikes. Most of the swaps for this engine have been for CT90s or CT110s, postie bikes, but realistically they're not that much different to my CD90Z. So I imagine I'm going to have to do a little bit of work and fabricate some rear mounts to get it to fit in the bike properly. We'll just slide that out of the way. I'm quite impressed with that motor. So we have a battery, and this Lifan 140 engine is 12 volt, where stock this bike was 6 volt. So we're upgrading to a 12 volt system. And this is the smallest sort of battery I could get in this line of bikes. It's for a C90. But it's absolutely tiny compared to some of the batteries I've had. This was $27, so this was extra to the complete bike kit, but we'll have a quick look to see if it fits in the stock hole. Nope, straight away it doesn't fit. That in itself could be a problem. It doesn't fit in any way. I may be able to rig up something that holds the battery in another configuration. Sort of use that and create a strap there. But yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed that that doesn't fit. So we'll go back to the drawing board and we'll potentially find one that does, or whip up something that allows this battery to fit. But I don't want to cut a significant chunk out of this frame. So that was a little bit of a fail on my behalf, but we might be able to make it fit somewhere on the bike. We'll look at that down the track. So this is the exhaust and hopefully the other parts that I'm missing. Oh yeah, there's an extra bag in here. Yep. So here is a 420 chain. 420 pitch chain. So we have a sprocket that goes on the rear. I'm not sure of the bolt configuration because these are normally for pit bikes, things like that. But fortunately, the stock CD90Z uses 420 pitch chains. So I'll probably end up using the stock, I think it's a 40 tooth, but I will use the stock sprocket on the rear and the Lifan sprocket on the front. So I believe that the stock sprocket is a 15, and it gives us some scope. People have success running 16s and 17 tooth fronts, so it gives us some scope to work with. What have we got here? Oh yeah, awesome. So this is the oil cooler, because the Lifan 140 is an oil-cooled engine. That's actually surprisingly good quality. I did read that when these first came out, the banjo bolts were terrible quality. They actually don't look too bad. It's got braided lines. I'm actually quite happy with that. So that will go somewhere up the front here and attach to the side. Yeah, we've got our banjo bolt fittings. And yeah, this is what I was after. This is what I was really hoping to find. I was really hoping that they hadn't left this out, because this is a complete wiring harness for a bike to run indicators and lights. So I paid a bit extra for this, and I'm really happy to see it in the box. It's got your regulator rectifier, coil, and spark plug lead. Another one. You've got ignition with key, and you've got a kill switch and a start switch. So yeah, this is actually what I was after to run that. I really didn't want to create my own wiring harness, and didn't have to when these are pretty freely available. So managed to get this. The switch block's not amazing quality, but it'll certainly do the job. It's got a kill switch on it. Yep, it'll fit up there no problem. So that is going to be a fair game changer for the bike. That is worth its weight in gold. It's going to cut down the amount of rubbish that it takes to get this bike going by a long way. Got some wiring diagrams. Absolutely awesome. They are in English and it's actually readable. It is, yeah, very clear-cut wiring diagram to go with the harness. So this is the exhaust, the header pipe, and in theory the silencer. Some throttle sleeves. Yeah, so a throttle sleeve and clutch side grip. Is surprisingly good. Like everything in this, bar the air cleaner, has been surprisingly good. Oh yeah, awesome. We've got clutch cable. We've got speedo cable. They're really free moving. Again, I'm more than happy with the quality of that. We've got a proper kill switch, which we may or may not run. But again, quality looks pretty good. Plugs into, yeah, the rear harness we got in the top layer of box. Oh yeah, got the sleeve for the throttle. Go. And we have a single lever, which is handy. That's annoying because it's meant to come with 2 levers. That's our, I'll just double check that. Okay, so no, it doesn't. That's a little bit of a problem on my behalf. It's only got a clutch lever. It doesn't have a brake lever, which is fine. We will source one, but that's pretty easy. And this is the header pipe. It's got protective wrap on the heat shield, which is fine. It is reasonable quality. It's not amazing, but it will go somewhere like so. And we'll make up some brackets to hang off somewhere. I am actually, just looking at it, thinking of maybe just slash cutting the pipe rather than running a silencer. Just having that slash cut could look pretty cool, pretty mean, but yeah, we'll work around that later. This is the silencer here. some brackets. Oh, look at that. It's even grey. In the picture it was red. This one's grey. It's got baffles in it. Fits on there quite nicely. Oh yeah, that doesn't look terrible. So if we do decide to run the can, it certainly doesn't look terrible. Again, I'll work out some bracketing to work out exactly where it's going to sit on the bike. It could end up going somewhere like that, which could look pretty cool. Yeah, we'll work out the bracketing as we get closer. Guys, that was really fun. I was really stoked when the postie turned up this morning and he had those 3 boxes. I really wasn't expecting it until late next week. And the fact that it turned up from the eBay seller in 3 days flat to rural Tasmania is awesome. So props to the seller. The quality of everything is certainly exceeding my expectations, so that's a positive. Like, I haven't looked at it going, geez, that's rubbish. Everything, I believe, is serviceable and will work on this bike build. So that's a real positive, and it cost me $870, and that's a real bargain. I got a full bike build in a box, basically, which means that this classic bike will be well less than $2,000 from start to finish, from the purchase of the bike to a replacement engine, exhaust, and all the electrics. That's a real bargain in my opinion, and it makes me really excited to play around with this bike and maybe a few more of these little horizontal engined Hondas, like a CT90 or something like that, which I did get a free frame, so that's not out of the question. So what did I buy? A Lifan 140cc. It's rated at 9 kilowatts, which I think is about 12 horsepower, something like that. That's a 50% increase over the 8 horsepower 90 engine that would have come on this bike. And I just couldn't justify the expense of rebuilding that engine and not knowing whether I could get it to work when I got this for a lot less. And this bike will have a lot more power, it will be a lot more rideable, it'll have new electrics, it'll be 12 volt converted. It'll just end up long term being a better bike because I put the Lifan engine in it, in my opinion. And I know people are not going to agree with that. They're always going to say the Honda engine is better. And yes, when it was new, it probably was. But at this point, 50 years on, bang for buck, I'm convinced that this was a better deal than rebuilding that and not knowing whether I could get it to run and it's still been 6 volts and all those sorts of problems. So I'm really excited about purchasing this Chinese Lifan engine. The eBay seller was great. There's everything that I wanted in that box. They didn't miss anything. The things that are missing are things that I overlooked. Like, there's a clutch handle, but there's not a brake handle. So I'm going to have to source a brake handle. And I'm sure they're a dime a dozen on eBay for pit bikes and things like that. So it's probably only going to take me 3 minutes and 15 bucks to find one, and it'll be here long before I need it as part of the build. The chain was 428 pitch. I think when I opened it, I said it was 420. It's 428. That's the stock pitch for the bike. The sprockets are 41 tooth, which is a little bit bigger than what's on it. So I'll probably go the stock sprocket on the back and then the Lifan sprocket on the front to start with, which is 15. But a lot of people gear these bikes up, like I do with a lot of my small bikes, to say a 16 tooth front or a 17 tooth front to make them a little bit more street friendly. But I'll build it with the stock sprocket to start with and then see how we go, see what our top speed is, see what our torque and acceleration is. But I may end up making it taller in its gearing just to give us a little bit more rideability on the road. The engine itself I bought a neutral 1, 2, 3, 4 rather than a 1 neutral 2, 3, because I have read that those engines that have the 1 down 3 up get a lot of false neutrals, and the gearboxes are a lot more delicate. So I got a neutral 4 up to sort of give me the strength in the gearbox and find something that people have had success with before. The engine itself looks remarkably good quality. I'm really actually quite surprised with how good a quality everything has come out of that box. And sometimes you buy stuff and you think, my gosh, that's rubbish, that's going to break. But there's nothing here that I've looked at and gone, we're really desperately going to need to upgrade that. The engine itself looks fantastic. I'm really actually quite surprised with how high quality it is, and I'm really looking forward to getting it into this bike. There's a couple more things to come which might ease up the progression and sort of make it easier, but I did buy a carby swivel plate so I can angle this in 14 different positions, which will help sort of keep it away from the tyre and keep it away from being sort of too far out, so I kick it when I kick start it. It'll just make setting the bike up a little bit easier. And that was 17 bucks. And I bought a Lifan to Honda engine adapter plate kit for the rear mount, and that in theory will help speed up the installation of the engine into the frame, and it may reduce the amount of cutting and shutting I have to do to this classic bike. And the less cutting of the frame I can do, the better, the higher the value of it will be, because I don't plan on turfing that 90 engine. I plan on boxing it up and storing it in case I ever do want to sell this bike. I have the matching number engine and frame, and it's always going to be worth more than a modification or an engine swap. Yeah, this bike came 8 horsepower stock. That engine's 12 horsepower. That's a big increase. That's 50%. Imagine my Falcon with 50% more power for no money. That's incredible. That's a bargain. Imagine that car sort of turbocharging it and tuning it to 50% more power than what it was stock. How much quicker it would be, how much more fun it would be, but not having to spend any more money on it, and it probably ending up being cheaper than rebuilding the stock engine. And that just blows my mind, and that excites me. This is a very light bike. This is light gear. That 12 horsepower engine, which is not a lot, is going to make this bike feel a lot more nippy than what it did stock. And I'm aiming for about 100 kilometers an hour top speed. I don't think that's out of the question with this, and that'll make it a nice little cruiser for around town and on back roads. Of course, it's not going to keep up with traffic on the highway or the interstate, but on the back roads, it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun with the weight it is and the power it's got. And I might put some semi-knobblies on it, and that might make it a little bit handy off-road as well. But these are all decisions I'm yet to make, because I wasn't expecting this engine to arrive as quick as it did. So guys, my name's Chris. This is my carport. This is I Ride Taz. Hope you're going to join me for the build. I'm really excited for it. The build videos are on Tuesday at 3:30 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time, and from here on in, things get very real because I've got everything I need. Yeah, I cannot wait, guys. So until I see you next Tuesday, I'm out. Have a great week. Take care. See you next Tuesday, guys.